Many families in Howard County are two-income households. What would you do to help busy families interact with and participate in Howard County public school systems and county government meetings, events, etc.?
Gosh, we have so many people who are stressed out with life, so busy with their families and with their jobs. It's very difficult. We need to make sure that we have notices out for people. We need to make sure the notices out go out more quick, more farther in advance, so that people can know what's happening, so they can make their schedule, they can plan. We need to look at how we deal with meetings to make sure that they're not at awkward times for families. We need to look at ways in which we can demonstrate, as I said earlier tonight, that they are the boss. You know, if your boss told you, I need to be able to meet at a certain time, and I need to be able to meet at a time that fits my family, and you were the employee, you would figure out how to do it. Unfortunately, sometimes elected officials think they're the boss, and we'll make it easier for us. And then if you can make it, that's great. Well, that's not the way it should be. We should be looking out for those who we serve. We should be servant leaders who understand that the citizens come first. And that's what my administration would do. So I would work with my county agencies, because it's more than just the council meetings or whatever, but make sure that budget meetings that the county executive would have would be at times when people could attend. I've already talked about how I've had 6 town hall meetings. I'm going to continue those town hall meetings when I become county executive, because it's important that the county executive go out to the community and not expect the community to come up to the George Howard building, go to the 3rd floor and try to find a county executive. County executive should be able to go out. So I'm going to have quarterly town hall meetings where I will meet with residents. They can express concerns. They can talk about ways in which we improve things. And I think that you should want a county executive who's willing to go out and do that, who take the tough questions and be able to respond. Because if the county executive can't defend the programs that the county is doing, then shame on that person. And I will make sure that I'm out there with the public, making sure it's easier for them. And I guess another way to answer that question is I will go to them so they don't have to drive down the city to meet with me. That'll make it a little easier on the families.
And I would say that being from a family, my husband Richard is here in the audience, and he knows this story well, with a 2-income family, with the mom who is working full-time as well as being a board member or county council member. We know what it's like to have kids in all different directions, to have 2 of us working, to thank goodness for cell phones and text messages, which is essentially, are you going to be home for dinner tonight? Who's picking up so-and-so? It's a lot easier today than it was in that sense. But I think that engaging our citizens is critically important. It's one of the most important parts, I think, of this campaign has been going out and engaging citizens in neighborhoods all over the county. And one of the ways that I think we can keep people up to date is online. And as a council member, for example, as a citizen, before I became a council member, I used to go to the county council work sessions to look at the decisions that were being made about building schools, for example. And those work sessions were never online, they were never televised, but that's where all the decisions were made. And so when I became a county council member, I made sure that I convinced my colleagues to put money in the budget to make sure that those work sessions were televised. And they are now online. You can watch it live, or you can go and watch it later. And now the Board of Education meetings are all online as well. And so I think making sure that we have access and making sure that we use it to engage our citizens and provide as much input as possible is critically important. The other thing that I recognize is that when people are busy, oftentimes they don't engage unless there's a problem in their immediate universe. And I think that if we can help people understand that maintaining our high quality of life and investing in our schools and making sure all of these decisions are made that continue the progress in Howard County, that we need their involvement in that is important. Because sometimes people don't realize that things are very, very good at the time, and then therefore they don't become involved.
Do we have time for another question?
For me, one more.
Hello, everybody. I have a question. It concerns the rain tax. Now, last year and a half ago, we were hammered by a rain tax in Howard County imposed by the county council, including Courtney Watson, at $15 per every square, it's $7.50 for every 15 square foot, 500 square feet per percent. We had a big county meeting, and a lot of residents went back and pushed back, and they changed that law. And and the requirements, but they still are hammering the small business owners and business owners in Howard County. But I want to reflect back to the origin of this. In 2010, the EPA issued a PDF file here called the Sources for Nitrogen, Phosphorus, and Sediment to the Chesapeake Bay. And in that report, it outlines what Maryland's responsibility in that total equation is. And according to the EPA, Maryland's responsible for only 20% of the total maximum phosphorus, 20% of the total maximum nitrogen, and 17% of the total maximum sediment going into the bay. It further goes on to define that our rivershed, the Little Tucson rivershed, is only responsible for 1% of the total nitrogen, 2% of the total phosphorus, and 1% of the total sediment. It further defines that in Maryland, farmers are only responsible for 14% of the total, while forests, 16% of the total, while forests are responsible for 2% of the total. And yet, urban runoff and wastewater treatment plants are responsible for over 56%. Back to Howard County. The County Council, with the tutelage of Courtney Watson, passed this law that Ken Allan wanted to basically have ran through, with no response from the county meetings with the community or the farmers. And now we're stuck with this tax that is going to ultimately drown people. What are you going to do as county executive to roll this back, protect our personal and financial resources, and then to educate people that it's not the farmers causing the damage?
The stormwater fee was something that the county council was very frustrated about, that was pushed down from Annapolis. And we believe that Annapolis not only pushed it down, but did it in a way that gave the counties not a lot of direction in how to implement it. In Howard County, we looked at the law over a variety of months, and we determined at the end of the day a fee that we felt was reasonable compared to the alternative. And when I say that, what I mean is we have to make upgrades to our stormwater management system. We have to clean up water pollution in Howard County in order to meet the mandates that are required by the state. And they're very costly improvements. The estimate is $100 million over 5 years. And while we can fund some of that out of the general fund, needing to take $20 million a year more out of the education budget, for example, or the public safety budget, was something that we as a council were not willing to do. And so we passed what we felt was a reasonable approach to this. And as it turns out, the fee, $15 for a townhouse, $45 for a smaller single-family home lot, and $90 for a larger lot, is less than most of the jurisdictions around us. We felt it was more important to make sure that we continue to fund our school system and continue to fund our educational system rather than siphon off funding to meet this state and federal obligation. Thank you.
Most of the funding for the stormwater remediation fee will come from capital budget. Some will be operating, most will be capital. If we didn't have to pay higher prevailing wage on school construction, we'd have to let them, wouldn't we? Now, Howard County, of course, this is why you need a county executive with state experience who can go back to the state and say, this is not right. You know, Frederick County had a 1 penny rain tax. Carroll County didn't do anything at all. And then the most recent budget we passed language exempting both of them. The reason they got exempted is because they were able to show that they were able to fund their stormwater remediation requirements through their existing budget. Howard County didn't even ask to do that. Howard County doesn't have to have the fee that we have right now, the tax we have right now. Howard County can certainly reduce that. I would prefer that we repeal it, that we not have it at all. But the $15 and the $45 and the $90, you know, where'd that come from? Initially it was $15 for 500 square foot of impervious surface on a residence as well as a business. That's how it initially passed. And then, when the residents started getting all upset, Councilman Greg Fox, to his great credit, put a bill in, he called it the umbrella bill, to try to protect people from the rain tax. Ms. Watson and the other members of the county council refused to let him introduce his bill. Refused. And Ms. Watson, I'm paraphrasing, at the county council said, you know, we've already passed this. We'll look at it later. We're going to do a study next year. We don't need to do anything now. So had she had her way, it would have been $15 for every 500 square foot of impervious surface on residents. On residents. Fortunately, Greg Fox said he was going to keep on putting that bill in. And because of that, County Executive Allan decided I better put a bill in because people are pretty upset. And then it came out with this really lower fee for the residences, but they still hit the businesses incredibly high. And someone in County Executive Allan's office told a business leader, said, you know what, the reason we're doing this to you is because you're where the money is. That's not the message you want to send to businesses if you want to try to improve the economic growth in Howard County. So I will do the best I can to reduce or repeal the rain tax. Thank you.
I would just like to say that Mr. Kittleman is not correct in many of the things he said. The first one is that I supported the original bill. I did not support the $15 fee. And the second thing is that he continues to quote someone saying that businesses is where the money is. And a year ago I asked him, tell me, who said that to whom? And he has not been able to tell me that. So I would just say that we passed a bill in a very difficult situation that was pushed down from Annapolis. We worked together, including our Councilmember Greg Fox, to make the bill the best that it could be. And we believe it's a reasonable approach that will help protect our quality of life in Howard County, clean up water pollution, protect our school system, and make sure that we continue the progress in Howard County and continue to protect our #1 quality of life.
In response, Ms. Watson still did not support Mr. Fox when he said the bill would fix it. She wanted to wait, even though she knew at the time there was going to be a very big burden on our residents, and she chose to let it stay.
Because we had a better bill coming.
She didn't know that at the time.
How can you say that I didn't know what I knew?
I would like to sold us out.
I just want to remind everybody that there are a couple of forums online if you'd like to see more of this. Howard County Times and League of Women Voters both have forums taped online if you'd like to see more discussion on the issues.
Okay, our mic just went off.
You want to use mine?
So I would like to thank
I'd like to thank Councilwoman Watson for staying with us longer than she was hoping. We had built this until 7:30, so I tried to get as many of the questions that had not been touched on within the debate questions earlier so that we could get as many heard. We do still have a couple more, so we're only going to go for about another 5 or 8 minutes. So just wanted to let you know.